A story of resilience, recovery, and rebirth. Ahead on Face the State.
To not only survive, but now to come back and build and talk about it and tell their story. They have an amazing story to tell.
A year after a deadly tornado hit Indian Lake, we revisit the area to hear those amazing stories as the community continues to make an incredible comeback. Plus, Governor Mike DeWine lays out his plans for Ohio's future. Later, the key takeaways from his State of the State address and how both sides of the aisle are reacting. And remembering Lima Company and the 23 military men who never made it home.
I mean, it stopped me in my tracks. It actually stopped me in my tracks.
Later, a moving memorial, the artwork that remembers and honors the sacrifice the men made nearly 2 decades ago to protect all of us. This week marks the anniversary of a tragic and traumatic weather event that affected thousands of Ohioans. On March 14, 2024, a devastating and deadly EF3 tornado hit the Indian Lake area in Logan County. 1 year later, the community is bouncing back stronger than ever. Thanks for joining us for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. You can see the path of destruction behind me. When the powerful storm moved through Indian Lake, Lakeview, Midway, Russell's Point, Santa Fe, and Orchard Island in Logan County. The tornado destroyed homes, leveled businesses, and knocked out power for days. It also killed 3 people, 81-year-old Marilyn Snap, 70-year-old Darla Williams, and 69-year-old Neil Longfellow. Immediately after the storm, people rallied around the community to help in any way they could, filling the Indian Lake High School gym with donations. The human spirit is amazing. It seems no matter how bad things get, we bounce back. That is still playing out right now in the Indian Lake area. Many people are rebuilding where their previous homes stood, and many of the damaged businesses are back up and running. Today, we're going back to one neighborhood in Lakeview that's a microcosm for the entire Indian Lake area. A community once damaged and devastated, now recovering and rebuilding. It's not back to normal, but it's getting there. A year ago, I walked down Poplar Court with Lakeview Mayor Elaine Fagan Moore. All around us, the homes were ripped apart or just gone, torn up and carried off by the EF3 tornado. But somehow, everyone on that street survived. This past week, I went back to Lakeview and walked down Poplar Court with Mayor Fagan Moore once again. This time, a much different scene. Now, some people on the block have moved into newly rebuilt homes. Others are waiting for the work to be finished on theirs. Like the tree it's named after, Poplar Court is experiencing a springtime rebirth. When we were here last year, I remember asking you, people always say they will rebuild.
Yes.
But will they? And
Yes.
You said you had hope.
Hope.
What do you think now when you see this?
Elated. I'm absolutely elated. I look forward to seeing the kids play again. Because when I would be out in my yard, I'm just up the street and I could hear the children play at night. And it's been so quiet, you know. But I am excited to hear the spring peepers that came out last night. So that's also another hope because our woods are going to come back. And it's kind of like welcoming the people in some sense. If you look at it, nature does talk with people. And so that was a gift last night.
Yeah, and I mean, these houses are going to be nicer than they were before.
They are, and I don't know how many of them have basements, but I know they probably all have crawl spaces, where a lot of us didn't. You know, we were at the mercy of our closets or someplace where we thought we were safe. And everybody on the street was very, very fortunate, you know, to not only survive, but now to come back and build and talk about it and tell their story. They have an amazing story to tell.
When we've talked off camera, you've used the word resilience a lot.
Yes.
Does that describe the folks here?
Pretty much, yes. And I think this weekend when they have the remembrances at the high school as well as at the village of Lakeview, the firehouse on Sunday, going to feel that from the people, that they are strong, they've come together, they're united.
What a difference a year makes, huh?
Oh my goodness. We don't like when the wind goes. We're still a little worried about the wind. That's the reality.
How much do you remember of when the storm hit?
Pretty much everything.
Slow motion?
It was very slow motion. There's some things though that family will remind me of things and I don't have the recall. So, but I mean, like those moments when I was hunkered in a closet and hearing it come and not knowing if I was going to die, and then coming out and just seeing everything was like, I didn't know what I was looking at. And then of course, going into the downtown area, I've said it before, it looked like a scene from Chicago Fire with poles down and buildings just annihilated. And now to see it, though we have a clean slate downtown, we're excited, good things are coming. And when we can talk about that, we'll be excited to share. So we're real close with wrapping up with the insurance for our new building. We will be placed downtown.
Talking about for Village Hall.
For the Village Hall, yep. So excited about that part of it too.
How long do you think that'll be until you're able to start building?
Start building and make the announcement. We're looking at maybe a couple months and then we'll announce where we're going to be. It's extremely important because of the size of our community to make sure we keep the village office downtown. And so that because people come in, they pay their bills there, they pay their water and electric bill there. It's a time to come in. There's brochures that talk about community events. And it's another way to bring people to the businesses as well. Yeah. So we know that it's important to stay downtown, so we will be downtown.
And this area suffered some loss too.
They did.
2 of the 3 who died in the storm were Lakeview residents.
Yes, yes.
How are you going to remember Marilyn Snap and Darla Williams?
We are going to present 2 trees, and we've had plaques made up with their names. And then we're going to plant the trees in the park once the park is revitalized. It's under construction now. We hope to have the ball fields open up April 1, but we'll have the family back. They get to do the first shovel, and it's significant in terms of putting back. You know, trees are family roots, and we want to remember them with a tree. So once we're all gone, there'll be the plaques there, and it'll be in loving memory of them. So pretty exciting.
It's a nice tribute.
It is. It is. And we lost so many trees. As I mentioned earlier, we lost so many trees up here. We'll never see those size of those trees in our lifetime. But if, you know, I would encourage people to plant trees, do things like that, so we can slowly come back.
Such a difference from what we saw as we walked down this street last year. It's nice to come back with you to this same place and see the transformation.
It is. It's amazing. And it's such an honor, and thank you for coming back and remembering Lakeview. You know, we love our town, and we don't want people to forget us. And we want them to come back and see that, you know, we're here. You know, we have the beautiful lake, and, you know, it is a 4-season lake. We had a lot of excitement up here with snowmobiles this year and races and just all those things that a lake community brings. But just the people, you know, we have our farmland. There's just so much about this that it just tugs on your heartstrings to be here. So,
circling back to City Hall, to Village Hall, the building's gone. We just stopped by there. I mean, it's just stones and a flat parking lot looking area.
Yes.
But the village business has to keep going. So how much of a challenge has it been to keep that rolling?
That's a good question. We're in tight quarters. We are still downtown. We're renting space there. But, you know, we set up a mock office and we're just kind of cozy, you know, but it works out. And again, it gives us another area where people can still come in and see us, and if they have questions or talk about things. But we'll be excited because we're going to partner with the library. They're going to be in our new building, which is exciting too. So to have them as our new neighbor inside our quarters. So
I know you've always kept a positive attitude. As I mentioned when we talked last year, the word you used was hope.
Yes.
What's the emotion or the word that you're thinking about and feeling now looking to the future a year later?
You know, I still have hope for a lot of things because now we have the downtown, it's completely cleared. And it's exciting because the business owners are talking. You know, when they're in that position where they can share more, it will be exciting. So I think it's just going to even get better. And I think as the community rallies, this is just the beginning of it here. And it's just a lake. People are just genuine and kind. It's the best way I can put it.
Brooklyn Shields is one of those who was living on Poplar Court the night the tornado struck. She, her wife, and their 9-year-old triplets hunkered down and held on to each other in a bathroom as the storm approached. She says the twisters snatched their home right off the foundation and carried it away. Somehow, they had only minor cuts, scrapes, and bruises. While she says memories of last March 14th hit her just about every day, she and her family are now thinking about a big day coming up in just a few weeks. Brooklyn was kind enough to share her story with me.
As I was walking back and forth, the sirens were going off and the lightning was just like nothing I've ever seen before. So once I got back into the master bedroom, I had felt the pressure. So at that moment, I just remember grabbing the blanket and throwing it on top of us, and we all just dropped down. And like I said, within a few seconds, I mean, everything was just like, and then gone. So when I stood up, I was like, we gotta go. So we just ran across the street.
Do you remember how much damage there was at that time?
I honestly didn't realize, but basically the only thing left was the subfloor. Our dog, the one went with us. The little dog ended up, she was still in the same spot that we had left her in the bathroom. So when once we got out of there, we went over to Sam's house. We grabbed a flashlight, came back over, and I was shining the light, and there she was. So we had jumped back into the house to pick her up and took her off.
And so happy to hear that nobody was seriously hurt.
Yes, yeah, everybody was good. Just some bumps, scrapes, bruising.
And then how long was it until you started thinking ahead? Like, okay, we're gonna rebuild our lives.
I mean, the next few days was really just coming over to the house and looking to see if we could recover anything, which, I mean, everything was gone. So from there, we started looking for a place, kind of jumped around from my mom's and Sam and Colton's for a few days. Hopped on finding a rental in a hurry. Thank God, Jenna is our landlord. We reached out to her, got in there by April 1st, I think. So we got moved in there and then started the process of looking for builders. So we came across.
And it's coming along. Look at this.
Came across Ari Becker. Been very happy with the progress and
what do you think
that whole process. It's been a long process, but it's been great to see. The community was so special. Like people that I didn't even know showed up to help clean up, get everything, taken out of here, I guess. So.
And how long until you're going to be able to move in, do you think?
We're thinking just a few more weeks.
And you've been here since 2012 on this plot, right?
Yes.
So is it important to you to be able to come back to this same location?
Most certainly. We're ecstatic. Can't wait.
Do you have any lingering fears just because of the location and the memory that's attached to it?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we wish we could have had a basement put in, but I think the water table is too high was the problem. So we're definitely thinking ahead of where we would go if we hear those sirens again.
Do you ever have a day where you don't think about last March 14th?
I'm gonna say probably not. No.
Hit you at different times?
Yeah, definitely petrified of storms. Anytime we see lightning, hear thunder. I'm getting better to where, maybe rain I'm okay with. But if I hear thunder or lightning, I instantly start shaking inside. So, it's scary.
It's great to be in a new place, though.
Can't wait.
This afternoon, the village of Lakeview is holding an event to honor the lives of Darla Williams and Marilyn Snap, who died in last year's tornado. The event will also honor first responders and utility crews for all of their hard work after the disaster. It's today from 2 to 3 p.m. at the Village of Lakeview Firehouse. Still ahead, a uniting message to build a better and stronger future for Ohio, but lawmakers are divided on how to get there. Next, the governor's vision laid out in his State of the State address and where Democrats and Republicans stand. Plus,
I was walking down these steps And I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, you have them.
Paintings worth 1,000 words, now standing in the State House. Still ahead, the invisible wounds this memorial reveals of real problems our veterans face and healing. There were hugs, handshakes, and a standing ovation for Ohio Governor Mike DeWine as he entered the House chamber this week for his State of the State address. His focus, how to make Ohio better. During the speech, the governor spoke about new priorities as well as proposals already in his more than $200 billion budget proposal. 10 TV's Yolanda Harris breaks it down.
The state of our state is strong.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine delivered his second-to-last State of the State address on Wednesday at the Ohio State House. He announced his new Lieutenant Governor, Jim Trussell, will create a new Ohio's Workforce Playbook.
He will work closely with our four-year universities and colleges, our career technical schools, our state agencies, as well as local businesses and leaders, and develop a regional strategy that meets the specific needs of each region of the state.
Governor DeWine also focused a big portion of his speech on education. He spoke about early childhood education and the science of reading, but he also called on the legislature to ban cell phones in all Ohio schools. And he used the example of Taze Valley local schools where students locked their phones in pouches during the school day.
Superintendent Kyle Wolf told us that student engagement and attendance have both greatly improved. Grades are better. Socialization is improving and becoming more positive. The number of students being disciplined was cut nearly in half almost instantly, and even communication between students and teachers has improved because they have more opportunities simply to interact with each other.
He also spoke about helping families with a child care choice voucher program and a $1,000 tax credit for kids under the age of 7.
This will help parents fund child care or health care, pay for groceries, diapers, rent, any other costs. It will help them as they create the family of their dreams.
Governor DeWine says the state is still a work in progress, but he's excited about where we're headed.
We have the playbook. We have the team. And now together, let's go win.
That was Yolanda Harris reporting. Some of the governor's proposals during his speech are part of his budget that lawmakers are discussing and will soon be voting on. And while both Democrats and Republicans agree on the goal of making Ohio better for families, they disagree on the way to get there and how to fund it. Republicans say their focus is lowering taxes for businesses to bring in more jobs.
There would be companies that would come in and say, look, we like what you're doing here, we like what you're doing here, we like the package that's been put together to try and bring us to the area, but we think Ohio is a high tax state and we just don't want to come here. And so when I joined the legislature, I think there were 7 income tax brackets. I think the highest bracket was around 7.5%. We now have 2, obviously the highest being 3.5%, the lowest being 2.75%. And we're starting to get these big economic development wins that I can assure you we would not have gotten 8 to 10 years ago. And so there's a good public policy justification for reducing the tax burden on Ohioans that interplays. It's not one or the other. It interplays with all the other policy that we're putting in place.
Meanwhile, Democrats say more focus should be on families.
Private education and their business deals, giving tax exemptions for private jets, and also a $1 billion corruption scandal where the costs are passed off to everyday Ohioans on their utility bills. This is unsustainable long-term, and it has weakened our state budget's foundation. When we put people first, we are putting Ohioans at the center of every single decision that we make here. We are focusing on the issues that matter most: better pay, better health care, fairer taxes, safer communities, affordable housing, real opportunities, and a secure economic future.
Right now, DeWine's budget proposal is still in the Ohio House and has a ways to go before it heads to the floor for a vote. Still ahead, the Eyes of Freedom, a moving memorial honoring the sacrifices 23 Columbus-based military members made 20 years ago.
They're still working on a mission. They're still helping people a lot.
In just 2 minutes, we'll walk you through the art paying tribute to the lives lost for our freedom. This next story takes us to a 2-decade tribute for 23 military men who never made it home.
The life-size portraits that comprise the exhibit are large portraits of the men from Lima Company based out of Columbus that we lost back in 2005 in Iraq.
Corporal PFC Christopher Lyons, 28 July 2005, Sikla, Iraq.
No infantry company since the Civil War had taken the number of casualties that we had in one local unit like this.
These guys are patriots. They gave their life. No one took it from them. They sacrificed for their brothers.
The first thing I would say to them was, I hope that all of us have lived a life that's worthy of your sacrifice.
Today, we're remembering the Columbus-based Marine Reserve Unit Lima Company. It's hard to believe it happened 20 years ago, but their sacrifice and stories are as strong as ever today. And now we're getting a look at the art created in their honor and its return to the Ohio State House.
Comfort for the grieving.
For 2.5 years, artist Anita Miller worked with the families of the Lima Company 23 to capture their character on canvas.
They could say, no, his eyes were darker, or can you add this tattoo?
Portraits of personality, including that of Aaron Reed, the Lance Corporal from Chillicothe.
Many people called him Potter because he looked like Harry Potter, they thought.
I got involved because I knew Justin Hoffman here. He was a friend of mine.
The likeness stopped Sean Flaherty in his tracks.
I was walking down these steps, and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, you have them.
The smiles, the smirks, the eyes.
We hear a lot of replies about people looking into their eyes, and their eyes are just hypnotizing, and they can kind of feel their personalities by looking at.
Flaherty is the director of operations for the Eyes of Freedom Lima Company Memorial.
And then we just said Eyes of Freedom. That's the perfect name for it. It has stuck.
Remembering and honoring the 23 men killed during their deployment to Iraq in the spring and summer of 2005. The approaching 20th anniversary bringing the exhibit back to the State House Rotunda.
Ultimately, we just want people to remember.
To remember them and those who came back fighting a silent battle with mental health issues.
The idea was to show how immense the problem is.
This bronze statue, now part of the exhibit, titled Silent Battle, is based on an actual Army soldier's experience, sitting on the ground, clutching the dog tags of a fallen friend.
He said, no, you have to go. You can't just go straight to hope. You have to first know that you're not alone.
Now, a kind of wishing well of healing. Army National Guardsman Josh Davis signs a dog tag to honor a Marine he knew and adds it to the art already filled with hundreds of others.
That way he's never forgotten, he has the boys of Lima Company to watch over him.
A circle of paintings wrapping around those who come to experience its power.
I get to see some of the most amazing things happen, from paintings and a bronze sculpture. You look at that on paper and you're like, well, how's that going to change lives? I get to see that every single day.
The exhibit has now been displayed more than 400 times in 37 states. You can see the Eyes of Freedom Lima Company Memorial for yourself. It will be on display at the State House 7 days a week until March 25th. That includes today until 5 o'clock. Thank you for joining me this week for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. I'll see you next Sunday at 11:30.